Welcome, welcome, welcome everyone. How are you? Think that we're already live. Okay. How was everyone's weekend? I hope that everyone is having a nice week start, by the way. Here we are a little busy with a lot of work. I think it's good right now. But we also have time for do these streams. I think I'm getting a little bit more used to it and I'm liking it a lot as a way to connect with the community and the users. Okay, Stephen Mayer, hello. Okay, let me start talking about a little bit what we are going to do today. If you remember correctly, in the past two streams, what we did basically was to set all the height maps for the ceramic and for the clay materials. Also, we added a little bit of roughness and base color variation in the clay material and some color variation in the ceramic part, which we can remember that we are calling it Talavera. That's the name of the material that we're trying to replicate. Again, if you have any doubts, questions, comments, if you think that I'm going too slow or too fast, feel free to comment on the chat. And this video will be uploaded as all the other videos to the channel once the stream is finished. What we are going to do today is first we're going to put this ceramic and clay material in the body. We are going to fix and adjust the mask that is defining both materials just to make it work with the body. And after that, we're going to jump back to Substance Designer and we're going to talk about the filter that I created to paint the Talavera material. Once we start the Substance Designer part, we are going to focus on the blue parts, as you can see here in these blue parts, right? I'm going to talk a little bit about how I made the filter, how I made the variation in colors and in height, and how I connected and set it up everything inside of Substance Painter once. Okay, so I think that we can start with adding the clay and Talavera material to the body. So we can just copy and paste both folders directly into the body layer stack. And as we can see right now, everything is broken, right? So first we need to delete these two parts. We'll add a new paint layer in the mask. And we are still having some issues. Let me disable all these parts. Okay, the issue is this one. Probably that's because I selected the faces here. So we just delete it quickly. This. And we can start adding the other layers. And again, okay, I think in this case we don't need the clouds. Make it work. And now we have all the ceramic working at the moment. And if we want to add a little bit more of detail to the body, I think one thing that could make a little bit more story for the piece will be here where we are contacting the base. We had some cracks because we usually take off and put again the ceramic. So I think we can do that. For example, pick a brush, will be good enough. Make a little bit more space here, the UI. Okay, and now we can simply smaller and we can simply add a little. I think I added let me fix it again. Okay, now we can simply add some details here in the base. Show off if were some cracks. I think it's easier to paint it directly. Something like, let me change here the alignment to the working as expected. Seems like here mask level, maybe we have everything. Levels. Something like this. Cool. Again, since we're trying to create some random details, we don't need to be too precise at the moment. Some blur masks, all that stuff will help us fix the detail later. So let's do the same with the other foot. More. Just try to break the shape here. Don't need again some detail at the moment. We just need find a rough mask. Now we see that we can see that the detail is it's barely visible because the way the base and the placement with the body are working, but it's good enough because we don't want it to be too visible. We can later, for example, here in this part of the leg, maybe that's too much, so we can move a little bit, create a more interesting shape. And we have something a little bit more interesting. Now we add the blur, we add the levels, we add the other levels, blur. I think that we don't need to fix at the moment. And something like this is good enough for what we're looking for now. Now just to check it out, open it quickly in iRay. By the way, at the end of the stream, we're going to do a giveaway for Realism Lab license. You want to stay here all the way. And as we can see here now in iRay, it's starting to look good, and the detail barely visible in the distance is good enough size to notice that there is something there, but it's not overtaking everything. This is exactly what we want at the moment. Okay, now we can start working. Let's save this, and we can start looking at what I did in Substance Designer to create the filter that is giving me this kind of displacement or height variation, right? This kind of detail. So let's get started. Okay, everything of this filter basically works around the non-uniform blur node. I'm going to release soon a video about how this node works in detail, but I'm going to explain the basics here so we can understand what is happening. imagine that you have a shape. Let's do this. Let's do it as circle, a disk, and reduce the scale a little bit. Moment. The first thing that we are doing in the filter is adding a directional warp and a basic purling noise. As you can, what the purling noise is doing is breaking the shape, right? Because here we can, in this part, we have some clean edges. I think we need preview right now. What we're doing here is first with the directional warp, altering the shape to break these well-defined edges. Works again. It also works with a polygon, for example. You can see here. Let's scale to a little bit better. Breaking it, and this breaking in the silhouette helps a lot to sell the handmade life. After that, we add a non-uniform blur grayscale, and we connect both sides. You can see here. The trick with this part is that we reduce the number of we play with the number of samples and number of plates to create a rougher look. For example, as you can see here, what is happening, if I increase the intensity, it is displacing it, and we are seeing two different, the same shape displaced a little bit or offsetted more. I think it's a better word. Of it has an offset in regard to the original, and it's on the top of it. The more samples that I add, the more this effect happens. You can see here, you can see a lot of layers, and it comes a point where I don't notice any layer anymore. And what the blades do, it's similar to adding in each sample, adding more variations of this offset. As you can see here, we only have one that is moving the shape to the left, with 2 is moving one to the left and another to the right, 3 is moving in 3 different places, 4 in 4 different directions. And if we increase the sample, we get the exact same variation. One thing that is nice here is that we increase the sample, but not increase it so much that the result is smoother. As you can see here, we get these noisy layers, and that is a big part to create the effect that I'm looking for. As you can see here in this part, all these lines, the height map, come from that. Also these ones here, or in the flower here, everything is using the same effect, as you can see. And that is resulting, let me open final image, ArtStation. For example, here in the backlines, let's open this one, compare. That's resulting in that height variation, and that height variation we will also use it to create the same effect in the color variation. Like you can see here, not everything is the same tone color, but you can start noticing, for example, here in the leaves of the flower, that those overlays created by the non-uniform blue. Okay, let's continue. After the non-uniform blur, another thing that we want, for example, let me reduce a little bit here. Okay, so it's a matter of playing, depending on the shape, height, on the size of the shape, and on the roughness that you're looking for. You need to play with the samples and the blades. You can get some really cool effects. For example, I like this one. We're talking about the way of this hand painted layers on the Talavera. These are the blue parts. But I have some issues here because as here you can see that this center looks too white and too flat. So to fix that, I add a blend mask. I set it to multiply, and we take again another pearly noise, and we play with the opacity. Okay, sorry. I think that what we need is I think this, and you can, as you can see here, I added a little bit of variation here as well, right? If we added, for example, we switch these ones and change it to soft light as I have it the other one, we can still see how it's affecting. I think this is better with soft light. We can see here overall in the edges, we can see how it is affecting shape a little bit more, altering the based on the pearly noise, altering the height, make some parts a little bit more high, another more low. To tell this color variation effect, you can see and you can see here in these sort of leaf shapes, or in this circle you can see it again, or also I think that you can see them better in the face. Cool. Right, you can see here a little bit of color variation parts as well, and that's what that second pearly noise is for. After that, I just add an auto levels. The auto levels works to have a full range in the histogram. Here it's too flat because I love the histogram, but I'm actually using me up sample. You can see it. Well, it's not noticeable here, but in the end, the auto levels ensures that you are using the full range. And as you can see, this is this exact same more space here in Designer is the exact same chain that I have here. An input, a directional warp, a non-uniform blur grayscale, then the blend, the auto levels, and the output. Hi Mobsar, nice to see you here. Now with that in mind, now I expose all the parameters in the directional warp, in the non-uniform blur, and in the blend I leave it like that. So we have all these parameters here we can use. The preview it looks something like this. We have the shape noise. The shape noise is basically the directional warp plus the purling noise. Then we have the height noise. The height noise is this secondary purling noise that is getting the blend with the soft light. And finally we have the paint noise, and the paint noise is basically all the parameters from the non-uniform blur. Okay, a second filter that we need is actually a lot easier. Let me open it so you can see it. Here it is. This is the second filter that we need. It's basically an input. It is connected to the non-uniform blur grayscale. Both inputs are the same input. And finally an output. This one will help us to get a lot more color variation in the end. And again, all it has is just the non-uniform blur, and everything is exposed as a parameter. Okay. Any questions so far in regard to the Substance Designer stuff? Give a little bit of time for you to answer. And if there are no questions, I'll proceed with the Substance Painter part. Okay, it seems that everything is fine for now. So we can close now Substance Designer, and we can go back to Substance. Let's get back to the head first, and let's set this up. Okay, first we need to add the two filters that we created in Designer. Grab them. Just drag them. Allow both as and here's what the non-uniform blur, the Talavera paint are the ones right now. So let's see. Now we need to add here in it doesn't matter at the moment. We're focusing on the Talavera part or the ceramic part. We create a folder. I'll call this folder to height, just to keep it clean and separated from the overall height, the blue height. Now here I need to do, we add a fill layer, only affects height, and increase it. You can see here it's a little bit crazy. So we add a black mask, and in this black mask we add a paint layer. Now after the paint layer, call this cool for example. Then we add a filter paint layer. In the filters we select the ones that we created, that is at Talavera paint. And now if we go back here, draw something, we're actually painting, right? And in the parameters, for example in the paint, can increase the sample, soften it, can increase the blades as well to add more layers of noise. I think the best values here something like this first. After that, what we need to do, this is a little bit too harsh, for example, so let's add a little bit of blur. We add another filter, we add a blur. Blur seems a little bit too strong, and play with value just to get the whatever we want. Okay, so now with this setup, what we have is a lot of control. First, because we can, with this, we can control the overall height of the detail. Second, with the paint, we can paint whatever we want. Then with the Talavera, We can increase the intensity, reduce it. In order to adjust this noise with anisotropy, we can also affect it. Symmetry. You can see the symmetry. Moving all the mass left or the right, we can change the angle to make it top, bottom, or whatever we want. And with the samples and the blades, we can adjust how rough we want it to look. Okay. Now, it's cool to see the height like this, but we also need to set the color. So again, I'm going to create another folder called blue color. Okay. This blue color, let's add paint layer again, fill layer, and we can call it the same to match this one here. We'll call it gold. This one we only want it to affect base color. We add a black mask, and we are going to create here an anchor point. In the blue height, the layer of skull, we create an anchor point. That way we can control the color as well with the same setup. Skull mask, have the anchor point here. We add fill, select the skull mask, and we need to adjust sure that we are painting there are some times that the levels won't be enough because the way this setup is working, and for those scenarios you can simply just add a paint layer, call it fix, and do some final touches by hand. Okay, now what we want here will be, again, we can add another, now not in the mask but in the actual layer, we can fill, and we can select it only affect the base color, and here we add also skull mask, and then have here a levels and use to control how this will work. We can also select here filter, only affecting the color, and we are looking for this one, the gradient. With the gradient one, we can then select the colors. For example, when this bottom be in dark blue, middle one lighter blue or maybe, and the light one blue, a little bit too light. Things like this maybe. Can blur it a little. Balance. Play with the contrast of bird. I don't like colors too much. Let me bird this, and the top one is the one around here. Okay, if that is not enough to get variation that we are looking for, we can always, here in the paint, a little bit reduce the blades to make it a little bit harsher. Also here maybe reduce the to the top. And here remember that we also have hide noise to increase some variation. You can see here is the disorder, and the shape noise again to alter it a little bit more by playing with the scale. And sometimes if I get a color that it seems a little bit too flat, what I like to do is add another fill layer, also only affecting the color before the gradient, and grab something from the class that can some variation. Gaussian node, set it to multiply and reduce, that we get a little bit more variation. We can increase balance, how the mask. Oh, sorry, this is not the mask. See how the base color. The balance with the contrast a little bit. Also play with the scale and the disorder to add some more variation. And we have something like that. Okay. Let's see. Now with this in mind, let's paint actually something that makes sense. First, we can start by erasing all this stuff. And let's start, for example, by painting. Go to the UV, set here. Let's start by painting the rims, the head. For example, these blue parts and this part here in the head. So what we want to do right now, first we let's remove the Talavera paint and the blur, so we can have a real look of where we're painting. Make the brush a little bit bigger. This. Maybe a little bit more. Something like this. Again, we don't need to be too precise. One of the benefits of this material. Thing like now we can just fix this here and there. And let's add another one, this part. See how this looks like in 3D? There you go. Now we add the filter, and here in the filter it seems like the scale maybe is a little bit too big, or this intensity. reduce it. We want to affect the position on with the noise. Maybe we need a smaller scale first and less intensity in the shape noise. Remember that this part is the initial early noise that we added when we were creating the filter in Designer. Hi Stephen, nice watching. I have to go. Okay, don't worry. The video will be up as always, so if you need to go, don't worry about it. So now here we can continue, maybe change a little bit here the paint to keep a more uniform look in the edge. And as you can see, we're getting details we want. Maybe. Okay, Tunias is asking a question. Have you painted the skull shape or used some image brush designer made the shape? Actually, I've done both. In this case, I painted it by hand, using symmetry to in order to try to keep it similar in both sides. But if you go to my art station, you'll see that I also have a similar shape in some tiles in a full substance design material. Let me find it here. I think you can see here. Here you can see the face, right? The tiles. This one is fully procedurally made. So I've made it both, but here in the Painter project, I felt like painting it directly was a lot easier. Right? Okay, so now that we have this, we can actually see how much, show only the 3D. We can finally decide how we want the light to react. For example, you can see here in this part how the light is doing something in some layers like this. This part is a lot less noticeable, it seems a little bit more blurry, but here we can follow some sort of lines. And if we move the light a little bit, first we move the light a little bit, we can see those bumps. Here is a okay. So this is basically the Talavera paint filter that we created in the paint noise. We increase the samples, we can see how it gets a lot smoother. When we reduce the samples, we get a harsher look. Right here, the samples are too low. For example, we go around 4 or 5. In paint here, we can see it, right? 6 maybe is a little bit too smooth. It seems like the sweet spot is between 4 and 5 samples. And also we can hear more blades to make it a little bit or less noticeable or more noticeable. Again, the sweet spot is also for this effect between 4 and 5. I found out that the biggest characteristic that defines how many blades that we need to use is how large or how big the blue part is. For example, we paint here something like this. You can see those layers working here. again in the, but if we reduce the layers, we get a better result like here, faster. And if we have something that is a little bit thinner, like this, we can, for example, get some good results even when increasing a little bit more the samples. But the larger the shape, the faster the smoothing look will appear. I think between 3, maybe in this case between 3 and 5, 3 samples and 4 or 5 blades, we are having some nice layering here in the edge, this part. Exactly in, we can see if we move the light. Okay, let me erase, we don't want right now, erase all this. And before continue, let's check how it looks in. Maybe it's a little bit too high. We can fix that. But I'm liking how this layering look in this part, and how it contrasts with this part. We can see how in some bulky parts, some a bit shallower parts. Here, as you saw, I was very loose in the way I painted. Here again, we have a nice detail part. And if we check out how I actually did it, is was very simple. Remove the filter. You can see that almost everything is being done by the filter. Okay, again, to adjust the height here, we can go directly to the layer, and since we are using a mask to create the effect, we can procedurally change the value. Better. I'm getting a nice result, but I made a mistake because this is actually not the skull. Probably for the skull, because shape is too large, we will need some different parameters here in the Talavera. The blur here also helps us a little bit too intense. We can down or off as we want to. Let me reduce it a bit more, 0.1 maybe, just to soften it up enough in iRay, because again iRay tends to show the effects a lot more. Also, maybe the color is a little bit too bluish. I think we can fix that. Atom Studio says material looks awesome. Ah, thanks, glad you're liking the material. Okay, and now we have a nice combination of ceramic details that we talk about, painted the wet part, some of the white dust and dark dust, have some nice breaks the edges, and we have some nice variation that is emulating a painted layer of the ceramic, some thickness. I think it looks especially nice in an angle like light is not direct, more reaching the rims. Carlos de la Rosa, hello again, nice to see you back. Okay. So first, let's rename this to rim. So I'm going to call it face rim. And we can basically now with the setup, again the setup is paint layer to paint everything that we want to here. In this painting we are being a little bit loose because all we want is the general idea. Most of the heavy work will be done by the filter that we made in Designer. Then we add the Talavera paint filter that we created in Designer and just add a little bit of blur to control how rough or smooth the detail looks like, right? If we duplicate this, we don't need this paint layer, we need to create a new one and actually create this one. Cool. And also we need to duplicate the color layer we created. Okay, so here we cool. Here we need to first let's rename this anchor point. First one to face remask, and let's make sure that one is one that is being used by layer. Face remask, okay, is working here. Okay, again, face remask is fine. Now here, now we have a school mask anchor point that is working. We need to fix this one to use the school mask anchor point, and this one as well to use the school mask anchor point. Okay, now in theory, we paint here. Reorganize this. If we paint here, we're getting the results that we want. It looks like this because sometimes I wanted to show this one. It looks like this because sometimes these levels will break. We need again to increase the contrast, make it look. You can see here, and probably we need to do the same here. Okay, now we can do this. Then probably add symmetry and oh, hi Alina Boricua. Glad that you like the. I think that you're talking about the plugin, and thank you for such nice words for my work. Okay, now let's try to do the full mask. Just open the reference here quickly to idea. Let me put it in the second monitor, and let's try to paint it out. This. Okay, there's a little. Let me see if I reshaping the UVs. This is fine. Okay. Guys. Do that part. I think that we something. Let's start first with forehead. A better sense of the here. Good. Nose. This. And for the teeth, I'm going to have a C. You can even leave these small details. Take the mask. They might look like some sort of mistakes made, and that gives a little bit more realism. Something like this probably. Okay. So now we have a better look of what to do with the eyes. Eyes a little. Okay. I'll probably add the detail of the eyes in another layer because shapes here are too big and in the eyes are a little bit smaller, so probably the Talavera paint filter needs some different parameters. Let's play with it. You can see we are getting mask, we're getting a lot of variation in the height. You can soften it and make it a little bit rougher. We can add more different layers of the material. We have these white parts, you can see, like this one. Don't worry, we're going to fix those ones, adjusting the levels in a little bit. Again, I left some pieces of, I didn't really clean up these teeth. That gave a little bit of extra detail, or that maybe will look good overall. But right now, what I don't like too much is that the color seems a little bit flat, as you can see. What I mean by it means it's a little bit too flat. So first, let's adjust here levels to fit part. can see adjusting the levels. I can get the right definition where the mask is going to paint the blue parts, and by adjusting the levels in the field that we added in the layer itself, not in the mask, can also darken values. Multiply here, we can add a little bit more variation here, order, even we can here whatever scale, maybe like this, have a lot of color variation. Wrong. And in the gradient itself, you can also here it a little bit more. Here you can see how hard the variation is. Contrast, and even with the position. You can even invert it. I think that I want a lot more dark parts. Something like this. And basically, that is how you create you iterate over that a lot of times to create all these details that I added here. The fact that we have here different layers help us control different heights to get different effects and different colors. For example, if you check this reference image, you can see that these little squares that I have here, the height is too low and it's more bluish. In these parts where I have big clumps of paint, the tone is a lot darker. So at this point, it's a process of a lot of iteration and a lot of adjusting colors and details until you find something that you like. Let's see how this looks in an array. Again, what I like the most is how the light reacts when it's hitting the rims. I think that's where the material really shines. Because you can really see all the bumps and you can see all the small deformations that light having. We touch the face, maybe it's a little bit too, like this, a little bit too strong. We can soften it out a little bit. Do that. Well, maybe we need a little bit more samples. I think that something like better, more realistic. Now we can play again with the height. How much paint is added there? Around here, good enough. Try not to exaggerate too much because it becomes unrealistic. Also, I think these colors are a little bit too dark. Maybe something like this. Okay. What else? What else? What can we do next? I can continue painting the different shapes, but it will be a lot of the same. I don't know if you guys want to see that, or we can try to add something different, like for example, initial setup for the base materials, some additional details on the overall color of the ceramic, or something like that. So let me know please in the chat if you want something for me to keep going like this, or if you want to check a little bit more of the details we can do in other parts. For starters, I think that I can start by adding an extra color here. Again, when we were talking about the clay and the ceramic, we were mentioning that the connection, if we didn't add these wet parts, the connection between the two materials was too clean. The same is happening between the paint layer that we have here in the ceramic and what we have in the ceramic by itself. So maybe we need to add something there to adjust this material blending. And the idea that I got when I was doing the project initially, you can see it, the reference. Was to add this little bluish paint in some of the edges that emulated how a thinner layer of paint is actually expanding and through the ceramic where the paint actually is in contact with. Here, here. So maybe let's try and do that. Okay, to do that, all we need to do are add another fill layer. And it will also only affect the color. We need to add a black mask. Here we can set the color. Well, first let it something crazy, and then we can adjust it. Now, for this part, I found out that words that I liked a lot. Quickly, first let's add a here brush thing worked. What's this one? Chaos Real Watercolor. This is one of the default brushes imported from Photoshop that was added by default, so everyone should have it. Okay, really all I did was, again, a loose way. Actually, let's remove the symmetry, because this is an effect that we want it to be irregular. Now, again, we don't need to be too precise. Sometimes precision makes everything appear unrealistic, so just imagine what kind of how the paint will react when it's get absorbed by paper or something like that. A bit more here, here. Avoid keeping it for the plate. Okay, of course this will be more noticeable in places where paint is close, like parts. Nose of tail. This is a place to add, especially in the interior part of the eyes. Maybe we can do it once we add the detail. Trim. A little bit the pressure on the pen. That's noticeable. So probably like this. One thing that I really like about this painter, sorry, is that when I grew up, I saw a lot of Bob Ross, and by doing all these details, it's so calming that sometimes you can feel like you're hearing his voice talking about they need to paint a happy tree or like that. Okay, I know that right now it seems a little bit crazy, but we can fix it very easily by doing two things. One is adjusting here. A little question. Let me check the question. Remember, you can tone down layer settings later in the map, so you can deliberately you can be deliberate on your tracing, right? Yes. In the end, thanks to all the procedural powers of Sense Painter, you can see I was really lazy following the lines and really messy in the the, the size of the detail. But here, first, I can reduce the blending to make it a lot less noticeable, and of course, I can change it to a color that actually makes sense. For example, thing will be rated for bluish, maybe that's something more like this. I think that looks better. Still maybe too strong in the blending. And have this, and as you can see, we get the detail without it looking too crazy. And when you see it from the distance, it actually helps in the realism as every other small details that we have been doing so far. So for example, we see the night rate. It's barely noticeable at this distance. You can barely see. I think you can see it quality on the stream, but maybe you can barely see it here. Maybe a little here, but it's really not noticeable that much. But you can, if you want to push it a little bit more, you can always just increase the blending or increase the color. For example, if this is too low for our test, you can always do it at 50, then it will become more noticeable. You need to be a little bit careful with this type of blending when you are talking about smaller parts, like for example these parts here, because you can very easily start to cover a lot of the white ceramic that is on the bottom, and you'll break the effect that we are trying to achieve here. The white parts you can see here is not a big deal because we have a lot of white surroundings. For example, here in this part, I edited this side. I left it part of the shape. And if in these parts that have almost no white space because the detail is too small, of course I reduce the intensity and try to be a bit more cautious on how much of the white space I painted. Okay, well, let's continue. What else can we see? Okay, let's, for example, let's duplicate this layer around, and delete this paint layer at the bottom, and at the paint layer. Again, we disable, it's a lot easier to disable first the Talavera filters, that way you can paint it, right? Let me rename this blue sublayer, and here in the blue color, okay, this one also brown, and we are going to reconnect the anchor point. First we need to rename mask. Here we select from mask. Seems like here, that is seems like the word is happening. So let's, and then it was because there, so this, And what I'm going to do right now is the detail here in the surface of the, and we can paint it here. Airbrush, smaller, secondary monitor, we can enable symmetry, and first we need to do changes. Paint it like, paint it at the bottom. Be good enough. Remember that we're going to deform this, all these shapes with the filter. A little bit careful with the side, and probably we're going to need to fix it. We're doing symmetry. Now first, now, and now we can paint we could do this procedurally by using a mask or using radial transformation, polar to Cartesian, something like that, to create this faster. But I found that the irregularities that I add here help a lot in the end in the design, and it looks more similar to what the actual Talavera tiles look. And if I just add the extremely symmetric or well positioned shapes, this part. I mean, I'm only going to do one of the quarters of the circle, so we can see the effects that I'm trying to. Again, I'm being very loose because I know that the noises that we're going to add later will make most of the effect. For example, we can, and everything seems a little bit weird and sort of. So first, we know that these parts wanted to be a lot lower, almost like if it was only a simple brush pass. Like this maybe. Then we can enable filter. Here you can see, for example, in these parts, I will fix these color issues that we're having here. But we can see how the paint seems like it's staying one side, and then there is a brush. That's the beauty of this filter. You can notice it a lot here, and here, and also here. Now we add a little bit blur, avoid making it too harsh. And here in the crown again, first we need to adjust this, capture everything, maybe close more this, and as you can see here, because it's a different layer, while these parts height can be a lot more, these blue squares are almost like a simple brush pass. So another thing that to sell the idea is to fix the color, because it's too dark right now, more compared to how the overall color looks on the parts that are smaller. So first again, have this here, the round mask anchor point. We can play with the levels in order to fix it. Then we have this Gaussian nose to create some noise, and we can replace for barely noise. Use actually any noise can work because we're only trying to add some variation. And here in the gradient, we can actually add, play a lot more with the tones, for example. Something like this, a little bit less saturated. One thing that I noticed that it's probably better to these shapes to add it in a different layer. These ones we actually want them to look a little bit more similar to ones in the rim, more because are connected and we don't want this kind of effect. So let's fix that. This, 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 and we can even paint it on. Second, UVs, symmetry is activated, paint it. This, part, this, okay, we activate again the blur filter and it looks a lot better. And we can see the color variation and the height variation as well. Maybe here for the color variation of the crown, we want to increase a little bit more the multiply and play a little bit with the gradient. Okay, I think this reduce the blur intensity, get better results. This is what I was looking for. These darker spots that emulate where the brush left the last position of the brush where painting. So let's see how this looks in iRay. Can add angle and increase exposure. And to real details. Is the light. And you can see. And basically that's all the process for the blue parts. Basically what you need to do now is a lot of iteration to get the color right. And play with the filter in order to get the kind of details you want, depending on the part or on the. You can see the bigger the shapes, like in the skull, I try to add a smoother approach, but in parts like the rims, where there is a circle or constant layer variation, we add a little bit harsher detail, and that can really emphasize how the light is working. And depending of the level of the size of the detail, like these parts, little squares, we can play both with the height and the color independently in order to try to get some more changes in the overall shapes. Okay, I think that we are about to reach 4.5. Not sure time has passed. So, but I think this is a good spot to finish the stream. I would like to know before ending it, I would like to know two things from you guys. First, do you want to keep seeing how I paint everything? Because it's a long process and it's basically the same one time and another time with different shapes, but basically the same process, and it's just a matter of adjusting it. Or you prefer to, I can also just cover the rest of the different things that are happening in the overall MeetMat project. I think that could be that maybe it's easier because you don't need to see me do the same thing like 1,000 times. But I would like to know what you guys prefer. Let me know in the comments or chat right now. And in the meantime, let's also, I think that, yes, the message is there, that Reason was kind enough to give us another license so we can do a giveaway. So again, right now, let's please everyone write chat Reason so I know that you're still there, and I can add you to the giveaway. And in the meantime, I'll prepare everything for the giveaway. Okay, so let's start writing Reason in the chat if you want to have a chance to get the license. I'll give 5 minutes in order to be sure that everyone has a chance. And remember, let me know if you want to see something different or the same, or all over again. I think Carlos is asking for something different. Yes, sure. I think that makes sense. I'll open a notepad. here with the names of the people. If I miss someone, please let me know. Now let me move this and see the render. Carlos, I have to say that Talavera render is pretty amazing. Thanks, glad you like it. Yeah, it's for this one I think that we still need to play a lot with the colors and be a little less rough and with the details. Yeah. But again, I mean, that's the base process, and the rest is just iterating all over again. Any questions in regard to the project, to the plugins, to whatever I can help you guys with? Please let me know. This is the time. Great, Carlos. If you practice it, just let me know if you can and want. Let me know the results. I'll be happy to check them out. A simple tag on Twitter will do. If you do something, feel free to tag me and I can see it, check it, and comment it. Dunia says something different. Your explanation really detailed and helpful. Glad you like them. Some points I think it's a little bit hard to explain because I don't know if I'm getting too much into detail, if I'm being too slow or too fast. I'm trying to make it everything clear. Okay, it seems that at least Carlos, Tunias, and Georgios are going to be really lucky because if no one else writes realism, it will be one in 3 chances. One minute, guys. I mean, I don't mind because in the end you guys stay till the end, so I think the 3 of you deserve it. Thirty seconds. Yeah, maybe the broadcast need more people, but well, I understand. We're just starting my 3rd or 4th stream, so and I'm still learning. I need I need to work a lot still. I think in terms of preparation of games and find my voice and soon. But well, time will tell. I think that I really like doing the streams because I can really connect and know a lot of you guys during them. Okay, I think the time's up now. So let's do the giveaway. Wait a sec. Website. That chance I'm going to check that I didn't miss someone. It seems like it will be a 1 in 3 chances. There will be no try. This is the good one. So good luck, everyone. Georgios, it seems like you're the lucky guy. Please contact me via Twitter or Discord. Let me add the links to my Discord and to my Twitter account, and let me know your information so we can arrange the license for you. Okay. In the chat you can see the Discord link. You can contact me there. And don't get disappointed right now, Carlos Antunias. I'm in talks with the Realism guys, and probably we'll have another giveaway soon. Also, okay, in the chat also is my Twitter account, so if you want to contact me there, Georgios, please contact me as fast as you can. We can arrange the license. Okay. Well, guys, that's all for now. Remember, like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, feedback, or idea for a tutorial, let me know in the comments. I'm trying to revive the channel. It was kind of stopped last year, early last year, but now I'm trying to create a lot more videos, taking advantage that we are all trapped working from home right now. So feel free to contact me and give me some ideas if you have of tutorials that you want, of something that you want to learn, not only Substance but also other applications, and I'll try to do something about it. Okay. Well, guys, so Georgios, don't forget to contact me, and that's all for now. See you in the next one.